Hello there. In my 2 prior videos, I talk about how entertainment media distorts things with predetermined narrative film editing to misrepresent facts and events. I pointed to specific parts of each episode to show how editing created the impression of events that never happened. The 3rd episode makes my point even clearer. It is composed of bits and pieces of real events that, when put together, create a story of things that didn't happen. And that make me look like someone that I'm not. There are just too many examples of this destructive creative editing in the 3rd episode for us to explore. To go point by point over all the things that are not accurate or are not truthful is not possible. This commentary video would be longer than the episode itself. But I want to talk about some of the worst misrepresentations that are being used to drive a false narrative about me, about those I work with, and those with problems who come to me for help. I want to say to you directly, and for the record, that I do not lead a cult. Those I work with and who work for me do not belong to a cult, and people who come to me for help do not run the risk of becoming members of a cult. Cults try to seduce people to join and control them once they are there, which is the exact opposite of what I do. But that's not what this television series wants you to believe. Ex-boyfriends and acquaintances with an axe to grind provide the dominant voices in the series. A few moments from one of my seminars that lasted hours, all of which was filmed, are featured to show that I don't tolerate dissent. What really happened, if you were to see all of what was filmed, would be that you would see me as someone who invites questions and discussion. Things taken out of context can be made to look like almost anything. Imagine if someone was recording you for a week, just your regular interactions, and took all of that content and cut it up and reassembled it with spooky music in the background, and then put it on television and passed it off as true. The thing is, they didn't just record me for a week. They recorded me for 3 years. They have set things up to make it look like I am something I am not, and that I teach the opposite of what I actually teach. Remember in my last commentary on the 2nd episode when I pointed out how the filmmakers edited together 2 pieces of video taken at different times and in different places to make it look like I was secretly watching Juliana walk with Blake? Well, they did it again. In the 3rd episode, they show me watching Blake and Juliana in secret, in this jealous and sinister fashion. But the footage of them and me were shot at 2 totally unrelated times, but spliced together to make it look like they are happening at the same time. Here is why the reality of my relationship with Blake and Juliana has been so misrepresented. Let's say that the purpose of a production is to make the argument that someone is a cult leader. You would need to only cut and show scenes that support that narrative regardless of whether or not it is true. You would need someone credible to make that claim. You would need to show a victim/hero escaping from the cult. But the scenes they spliced together to try to achieve that narrative added up to a storyline that isn't true. It's not what happened. The same thing happened with my efforts to clarify what my corporation expects from new employees and volunteers. All business entities require their employees to focus on their employer's purpose and mission. Apple's focus is on selling more phones and computers. Google's focus is on generating more advertising revenue. Burger King's focus is on selling more hamburgers. The focus of my corporation, my business, is providing me with the opportunity to share my ideas and my teachings with people who want to learn about my viewpoint, and hopefully gain something from that experience. The efforts of my team to shift focus from personal drama that distracts from my mission was depicted as cult activity and not as a business management exercise, not that different from the process major corporations use to draft mission statements for the same reasons. There is a scene where we are all talking with Juliana in the living room. The scene is shot and edited to make it look like we are somehow preventing her from seeing her family. That's not true. We were discussing whether or not employment with my corporation would be a good fit for Juliana, given the intensity of the lifestyle. I never discouraged her from seeing or communicating with her family. In fact, her father is a certified completion process facilitator. And there is a scene where she is talking to her mother. The subtitles show her mom asking Juliana if we all live together, and Juliana says yes. But guess what's scary? It's not actually what her mother said. What she said in German was, "So, are you always with each other together? As in, do you spend all your time together?" Juliana and Blake were always with each other, but they never lived with me. They had their own apartment for the entire time. The narrative the filmmakers are pushing is that I operate some kind of commune. I didn't, and I don't. At one point in the third episode, Juliana is shown crying, saying, "Oh wow, it's not what I thought it would be." This clip is shown to make it look like I was being cruel to Juliana, but the true context for Juliana's unhappiness reveals something different. The truth is that early in Juliana and Blake's marriage, Blake and Juliana were experiencing a lot of marital issues, including but not limited to Juliana's unhappiness with Blake's work schedule. Lots of couples experience these sorts of issues. The problem of work versus home life, the problem of trying to establish emotional security in the relationship. Everyone here did our very best to accommodate Juliana. We adjusted Blake's work schedule, making it more flexible than it was for anyone else in this company. We let Blake work from home, but nothing we offered was enough. And in the end, they deflected the issues that were going on between them onto me. Everyone has value conflicts and personality conflicts, but it looks like when someone else has a value or personality conflict with me, I am accused of leading a cult. There's a scene where a woman starts crying on stage. She's visibly in pain, and they spliced in audience applause to the scene, which did not actually occur at that time, making it look like the audience was happy that she was suffering. This didn't happen. The audience was compassionately silent during that interaction. The scene showing the audience at one of my events applauding a woman crying just didn't happen, but that's not what the episode wants the viewer to believe. The filmmakers did this to make it look like my audience and I celebrate people suffering, which is the opposite of what is true. Or when they try to make me look like a monster who is forcing other people to do things that they aren't ready for, and when they make it look like Juliana is the hero for defending them against me. Guess what? You want to know why they can't show my face and the sound changes slightly when I said the words? "You just crossed the line. Now we have problems." It's because I never said that at that time. They took that audio clip from a totally different conversation. And you know that stare down that it looks like I gave Juliana in the green room at the event when we were all discussing Sabrina and my frustrations about the risk I am taking working with suicidal individuals? I never gave her that look. I gave that look to Matthias, my business manager, about an unrelated manner. But they edited it all together in a sequence to create a chain of events that never happened. They have edited everything from my own childhood story to every interview and interaction with other people in this film to make it look like, because of my own abuse, I am projecting my own family issues onto everyone else and am dead set on destroying people's relationship with their families and on them cutting themselves off from their families so as to only rely on us. This is what cults do, but it is in fact the exact polar opposite of what I teach. My great dream that I am not quiet about and goal is family systems healing. I am still committed to it with my own family and continue to dedicate energy to repairing and healing with both my parents and my brother. There are so many people who say that I am the reason their family is back together again, and that my content is the reason that they finally have good relationships. Of course, the true series of events did not fit the filmmaker's narrative, the one that shows me as a cult leader, so they didn't show it, even though I can assure you that is the majority of what they actually filmed. I teach oneness and integration. I teach people that they need to have relationships with people from all walks of life so as to gain awareness from every perspective. I agree with people that sometimes they need to separate themselves from dysfunctional dynamics within their family so as to actually be able to change those dynamics and have a good relationship with their family afterwards, depending on how dysfunctional this family is. This is not an uncommon recommendation that mainstream therapists make. but it is tragic to me when it happens. The scene with Sabrina, where she says that she is done with the carousel of pain, is again cut to serve a totally false narrative. In fact, every scene with her is. The scenes with her were cut to make her look like she and I are not aligned. The reality is that she is one of my favorite clients. She is a woman who speaks her mind, and because of that honesty, including when she is honest with me about her resistance to even doing this healing work with me in the first place, is able to make incredible breakthroughs. Like the one she made at the end of that interaction that they conveniently cut off so that they could make it seem like Sabrina is calling bullshit on everything and is asserting that all we do is cause an endless cycle of pain, rather than having me help her with her resistance, assisting her to get from a place of pain to a place of improvement. I did not get into this business because I like pain. That is the exact opposite of what I do. I got into this business to alleviate pain, and to get to that other side of healing, sometimes you have to face some painful stuff. But don't for a moment believe you have seen what happens at my events. The episode doesn't show even one single positive story, because that didn't support the predetermined narrative that I am running a cult. Also, most of the scenes they show you that they're passing off as it's not a good story actually did end up being a good story. They just didn't show you those parts. There are easy ways to learn what really happened. I am asking each and every one of you who were actually there at these events shown in the series. Does the series show how things really went down? You were there. Is this what you remember? While we are on the subject of resistance, this episode made it look like I am a person who forces people to do things. Guess what? Wrong again. I teach free will. I teach that you should never bulldoze resistance, because that's a zero-sum game that nobody benefits from. So the reality is, after helping the people at that retreat at length to release their resistance to doing the shamanic work called water breath, anyone who did not want to participate did not have to, because they should never force themselves to do something they don't want to do. If you want to learn more about what I actually teach about this, watch my video titled Urgent: Deal with Your Resistance Before You Do Anything Else, which, by the way, was published on June 16th, 2018. There's another scene with Sabrina that was shown out of context, and because of that presents a false narrative. In this scene, she says that I told her that her parents don't love her. When I use the word love, I use it in a specialized way, as a term of art that Sabrina understood. It means that a person takes another person as a part of themselves. It is one of the most difficult things any person can do. Most people cannot do this, which is why they fail to act in the best interests of others. Most people do not love yet, but that is not to say that a parent is not filled with caring or affection for their child. I want people to have wonderful, healthy relationships with not only their own family, but with every person they meet in the world. If you want to learn more about what I actually say about family, watch my video on YouTube that is titled Family: The Truth About Family, which, by the way, was published on November 21st, 2020. The way they shot the segment with Graciela in this episode twists someone's trauma in the most extreme sense, and this kind of media abuse is unacceptable. They both shot and edited the segment with her in a way that suggests to the audience that she is not sane and that her memory of her abuse is false memory, and to make it sound and appear like I am abusing her. All of this being complete with the way they filmed and edited a shamanic practice called combo, in a way that makes it look like a tool of abuse, rather than a powerful personal healing tool. This episode grossly misrepresents the techniques I use and teach, from the completion process to display work to channeling to shamanic practices like water breath, that all can assist healing. In this episode, a practice where we do breath work in water and then help people to do a powerful release process for their pent-up emotions underwater has been shot to look like we are waterboarding people. And they finish it off with Sabrina saying, "I love you," as if I have successfully created a new cult member. This is not what happens during this process at all. Release processes like water breath is a technique to restore you to a place of stillness peace, and love, which is the place that Sabrina found when she said those words to me. This episode was edited and cut to make it look like what we do somehow implants or causes people to have false memories. I am very, very aware of the risk of false memory when it comes to memory work. It is a module I teach when I am training my practitioners in the completion process. And if you'd like to learn more about what I actually say about this, just go look up my video on false memories on YouTube, which, by the way, was published on August 6, 2016. Planting false memories is not only unethical, it's downright dangerous and goes against everything I stand for. In case any of you who watched this episode are therapists, psychologists, or psychiatrists and are horrified at what you have seen, guess what? You absolutely should be. I was too. Only what they have shown you is the exact opposite of what we do with people who seek us out for help. I feel I need to comment on a number of totally untrue things that Jared, a former boyfriend of mine, said in this episode. He did not give any money to me, and I absolutely never had anything to do with whatever decision he made relative to child support payments. As a mother myself, I would never support the idea of a man dropping his financial responsibility towards his own child and leaving the pressure on a woman's shoulders. That is the exact opposite of what I teach relative to masculinity and femininity. And you know that little tattoo he has on his palm? The one he's trying to make you believe was influenced by me, and for the purpose of getting him to question his reality? Sorry, that's false too. He was very into Byron Katie's The Work at the time, and the question he has on his hand, is it true, is the first question she has you ask relative to painful beliefs in what she calls the work. None of what this man has said to you is true. This series is such a misrepresentation of reality that I have a challenge for the directors and producers. Let's be transparent with the audience. I have nothing to hide. Otherwise, I would not have let this film crew come into my life in the first place. I know if the public has the opportunity to see the complete, unedited footage you filmed, they would see a truth that is very different from the one you have depicted. Release the raw footage. I stand behind what I actually said and actually did when you were with me. If anyone is going to judge me, they should judge me for what is real and true, not for these manipulations and fabrications. Sure, I'll give it to you, the promise of scandal attracts viewers, but it is not real. You have attacked the lives of every person shown in this film and every person who watches my content. You systematically gained trust and then exploited it, promising a positive viewpoint and portrayal. That is not what you provided. I don't know what is sadder, the fact that all this happened, or the fact that instead of sitting here today and talking to you about what to do about your relationships, or about how to overcome grief, or about subconscious patterns within humanity, I'm having to sit here and defend my private life and character yet again. All that having been said, what's true? What's real? Which version of Blake should you believe? The person who taught me how to trust, who I've considered family for 18 years and worked with for 11 years? The version of Blake who wrote a public post this last month on May 18th that said, "I would like to thank Teal Swan for teaching me that literally anything is possible with dedication and passion for our kinship and helping bring an infinitely deeper understanding to the world around me, and also the consistent message to go for what I believe in, want, and trust." Or the version on the screen who is depicted as my victim, trapped and caught in my clutches. The best way to know is to see the raw footage. You, the public, deserve to see it. Hashtag release the footage. If you liked this video, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and consider sharing this video with your friends. You can also click on the bell icon to be notified of the next time that I post a video. I want to thank you personally for the bravery that you have to step into awareness. I'll see you in the next video.